Alright guys, so we're gonna get into the Sage, Baal, and Sezan Nerf. So it was basically just one skill. Is right here. Cloud of Ruin. So what's changing with this skill is it's pretty much staying the same, but they're nerfing the combat readiness. At the end of the enemy's turn, it's gonna be a max of 20 versus right now it's a max of 25%. Which basically caused his turn to come quicker, even if you sped him in PvP. But it also still has the really high, up to 100% chance to dispel 2 buffs, along with, I believe that gets to 80% chance to put enemies to sleep in an AoE, so very strong skill, was actually pretty nasty. The issue here is not only could he do that, but you could also give him like the abyssal artifact, so that essentially abyssal crown. So he could also put an AoE stun out at a pretty high chance as well, and then, or even a Sierra Wren, which also had an additional chance to put sleep on, along with other nasty debuffs. So that was pretty powerful. As far as was it needed to be nerfed? The problem. Two things. Number one, he's light, which means that it's very hard to resist him, even if you're dark. No character in the game has innate resist against him because of elemental advantage. And he's pretty much a one-trick pony. So you saw him a lot on defensive teams, even though you don't see him as much anymore if you notice, but you saw him a lot on defensive teams. His AI was kind of silly sometimes, with his 3 especially, because his 3, the short version is the more health he's lost, the harder he hits, and then if he kills someone with it, it puts him back at max health. But oftentimes the AI would use this very stupidly, which I took advantage of a couple times. But his 2 was always the main thing, so even if you run someone with immunity set, well, you could still dispel it, and then if sleep got on him, well, GG, although I built my Acades whenever I would fight him with very high effect resist, so oftentimes I would just be able to wake everyone up after the fact, unless, you know, either this or maybe, because remember back in the day, 2-3 months ago, when we used to see lots of him along with Silverblade Araminthia on the same team, which was nuts. So, as far as was the nerf needed, because it's essentially nerfing him after turn 1, is pretty much how it's going. But we'll see. As far as whether I would trade him or not, honestly I would trade him, and not for the reasons that most people would think, because, you know, people are more mad at the Araminthia, Silverblade Araminthia nerf than the Baal Sezan nerf. But to be perfectly honest, since he's such a one-trick pony, he's really not that useful in PvE, because putting something to sleep, yes, you're increasing, you know, crit chance against it and stuff, but overall it's not that really that useful of a skill. The Dispel's really nice. If you don't have a Dispeller, that's really nice, but there's plenty of Dispels, especially coming now with all the buffs that are coming up. Eye of Death, you know, oftentimes in PvE, you're fighting monsters that are alive for multiple turns. So, not super useful. So I would personally trade him if I had him. I would push my PvP as high as I can this next week, and then just trade him for like a Arbiter Vildred or Fallen Cecilia or something like that, depending on what you need for your team. I would personally trade him. Not that he's necessarily super bad, it's just there's not that much he can really do if you think about it in the game. Like, yeah, PvP, if you're not into PvP, what does he do for you? Just saying, and his effectiveness is gimped a little bit. He's still pretty solid, but his effectiveness is still gimped just a tad bit now, so. Anyways, that's my opinion on it, guys, and catch you guys during the next video. Have a good day.